And here we are on a foggy and muggy, it's not really foggy, it's more of an overcast and muggy July 25th. Uh, it was warmer yesterday here than it was in like Arizona, I think. Did everyone enjoy that? Bad hair days. Jen, your hair frizzed up.
I just put it up to control it.
Okay, let us say good morning to everybody. Good morning, everybody. And
Good
for those of you who
morning.
don't know me, I am Dr. Endelstein. I am actually the owner and founder of FinTech Weight Loss. This is my phenomenal staff. Everyone want to introduce yourselves? Don't all jump up at once. Don't have back off.
So I'm Jen Silvestro. I am an integrative nutrition health coach who's been with FinTech for coming up on 6 years now. Maybe
Wow.
7, 6, 5, 7, something like that. So
Great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Who else?
Thank you.
I am Corinne Paglucci. I work in our back end and I work from home and I support our staff all the time.
Wait, you pronounce your name Pagliusi?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a hard C. Okay, interesting. All right. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Trisha. I work at the front desk for FinTech, and I've been there just a little over a year now.
Also, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Jacqueline?
You're muted, Jack.
She's muted.
Who muted Jackie?
That's usually
Dr. R.
Yeah.
I usually do, but no.
Where's the picture for her face?
Let me see.
Oh no! Don't
Okay.
take any
All right.
screenshots.
Listen, while she wait. How about now, Jackie?
What happened?
There you go.
You
I
guys
don't know,
muted me. I took my signal off.
Not
No.
purposely.
You did it.
You want to introduce
You're
yourself, Jen?
frozen. Sure. I'm sorry. All I did was say my first name at the beginning, but I'm Jackie, and I manage the marketing for FinTech.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Hey, listen.
What?
Do not go anywhere. No, not you. Audience, FinTechsters, NutriMonsters, people who are joining us today, people who want to lose weight, people who want to live a better life. Do not leave. We are going to be talking about a subject which is intimately connected with success in life, with everything that you want to have. And the subject is back off. We will define back off. We will talk about what causes back off and what can be done about it. But first, before we do that, we always like to start on a positive note, and there is nothing more positive than a good testimonial. So, Jennifer, you have testimonials for us, do you not?
I do. I have 2 if we have time. One is from Joanne B. And she and her family, a couple of family members have done the program. So it's the most positive family I've met. The whole, right? They're so like happy and cheery, and you know they've got stuff that goes on, but they're still happy. So I'm hearing feedback on my end. Sorry. So I'm just going to plow through because I don't think everybody else hears it. But Joanne said, "Wow, this was a very exciting journey for me. This is the easiest program of weight loss I have ever done. I've reached my first goal weight and look forward to continuing this program in the future. I feel healthy and my clothes fit much better. I love my team and enjoy seeing them and having their encouragement weekly."
Nice.
Yeah.
Trisha, what have you noticed about Joanne?
She looks fabulous, but she just is always amazing. So super positive regardless. But she does look amazing. I love her. I love her whole family.
Yeah.
So
they're great.
She mentioned that the program is easy. That's so important. I think that we do what we can to make this program as easy as possible. A lot of people say this is by far the easiest program that they've ever done. Jen, why does that matter?
Well, because generally when something's not easy to do and you're not having successful milestones, you give up. And that's
Back
anything.
off.
Get back off. Yeah,
And
you
subsequently give up. Okay, good.
Segue. Do you want the second one or do we want to go right
Why
into this?
not?
Okay, sure. So this one is from Mary N, who recently got married. And she said, "My journey has been a challenge, both good and bad. The program showed instant pounds fell off. My clothes do feel loose. Some body inches have gone down. I feel more agile when bending down and to put my shoes on. My midsection of my torso has always been my challenge. The supplements have helped my overall well-being. Didn't get that many allergies or colds. I still struggle with my weight, but I've maintained what I've lost since joining the program. So,
Nice.
yeah, she had gotten sick. She had some personal issues go on. She just got married, so she was building up to a wedding and all the stress of wedding stress.
Mm.
But she, you know, she's learning as she goes, and she had no back off because she just she just kept persevering despite multiple challenges.
Challenges, right? And what's the most remarkable thing that we've noticed about Mary? I feel like we've discussed this on here, but what's the most remarkable thing that we've noticed?
I think she's become more focused and present. So when we were first talking, she was kind of like all over the place. And, you know, she still leads a busy life, so she can still be sometimes all over the place. That's probably who she is. But I find when I'm talking to her in the weight room, she's definitely more present and she's able to understand more of what I'm telling her. So it's been a learning curve, but she's definitely, I think, bigger focus.
I've noticed it as well. I've had the conversation with her. She's definitely calmer. As you said, she's more present. My sense is that she's developed a sense of control, and combining that with the detox, with getting rid of those toxins that can cause fogginess, has created a much more present person.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Speaking of present people, Jackie, you have a recipe for us today.
Hi. I
Hello.
do. I actually have two since I was not on the, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I actually have two recipes since I was not here last Monday. So I'm going to start with, obviously it's still barbecue
Do you
season.
feel like
We'll
people
need to-
didn't eat because you weren't here?
I mean, it's possible. I like to think that people wait for these recipes and eat them.
Okay.
So I actually came across a really cool one. So obviously it's still barbecue season and it will be until it snows in my eyes. But I saw a really cool recipe that it's not healthy at all. So I found a nice alternative for roasted potatoes on program.
Ooh,
So these
interesting.
are, which is really exciting. And for those of you who have not had radishes are an amazing addition to anything. So they
Let me
really
just
are
interrupt
not thought
for a
of and not
second.
added to most.
Jack, let me interrupt. I'm sorry, but I find it hard to care about radishes. They're just the kind of thing that's always
This is the
there.
problem.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you going to make me care about radishes?
It's something that's always there. Nobody ever adds them to a salad. I feel like it's just always just there unless you've ordered it and it's mixed already. Nobody ever gets them, but they actually take on the flavor of the food that you're making, very similar to cottage cheese. So this is a big save on program. And honestly, I did not think of this when I did the program, so I'm kind of disappointed in myself. But you're going to take the mini, like you can already get them preset organic bag of radishes. You're going to clean them up, slice them thin, use a mandolin, or just chop them in halves. If you are not on program, you can use your regular fresh garlic, our pink salt, a little bit of olive oil, twist them up, put them on a baking sheet. Bake them at 350 and you have yourself roasted potatoes.
Will they get soft?
This is phenomenal. They have a soft texture and a crispy outside. So the longer you cook them, definitely use parchment paper. On program or not, parchment paper is a huge save when it comes to that because it creates that crispiness, that brownness on the outside. You can alternate. You could use rosemary for those of you post-program. Issues are not cheeses. You can just do a little fresh grated Parmesan and you have yourself roasted potatoes.
That sounds really good, but I have to check in with our most skeptical eater here. Corinne, I want to know your opinion.
That's not fair.
Corinne?
That is not fair.
I don't. Well, it sounds good. I just don't know if I'm going to try radishes.
You may not try radishes. What is it about radishes that you find offensive?
They're radishes.
Oh my
It's
God.
like telling
There you
me
go.
to eat a turnip.
We have an anti-radish idea.
Oh my
Zach,
God.
actually roasted radishes. When I did my first round, I had found a recipe for roasted radishes. eat radishes a lot. Like we use the greens. My daughter will eat them like candy. They're nice peppery flavor. But I made them roasted. They're delicious. So
Maybe
I
I'll
gotta
try
tell you,
they're
this
so
is
good,
new
so
to
good.
me.
I don't think I've ever had
So
one.
I love
They're
radishes,
red
and, like,
and they
this-
remind me
this-
of an onion.
Just
what's
the
wrong with
outside's
that?
red, right?
Just the outside's
Jackie,
red.
what
The
were you
inside is
saying?
white. This hurts me. But
I think
so
we're
what you
dealing
do is
with a little lag here. So what were you saying, Jackie?
a little bit. So when we twist it together, if you're like, for example, if you are on program, my biggest suggestion to you, and this is something that I use with a lot of things, because you have to omit your oils with the opportunity, obviously, without including coconut oil on occasion when directed to. A good way to do this is soak them a little bit in vegetable broth. You want to add moisture to them. If you cover these with tin foil, you're going to steam them. That defeats the purpose. If you want a roasted feel and you don't have an air fryer, you want to soak them a little bit in vegetable broth, sprinkle them and season them, flavor your food. We also carry in the office the home style ranch. You can make these a ranch roasted potato. There's a lot of alternatives. It's super easy. We're talking 3 ingredients at most if you want. If you feel like adding garlic and other seasoning, you can. Super simple, super easy.
So
I'm gonna
this sounds good. I might even try it because it does sound simple, and this is kind of new to
Very.
me. I never considered the possibility that a radish could be fun and interesting, but I'm
Yeah.
considering that possibility. But I am going to make an
The-
executive decision now, Jackie, because we're
Yeah.
11 minutes in, and so I don't think we have time to do another recipe.
Please,
I want to
it's
get to the
really
content.
quick.
No, we have people. I'll tell you what. Tell us what it is,
excited
and then we'll talk. No. Just tell us what it is, and we'll discuss the recipe part next week. Because we have people
Strawberry.
here that are hanging on to hear our content. We're going to fix their lives, and we can't,
Okay.
put it off forever.
Well, you just put it off. I could have been done already.
Go ahead.
Strawberry,
What is it?
strawberry vinaigrette. Strawberry vinaigrette dressing.
vinaigrette. That sounds like a dressing.
on radishes.
Yeah, it is.
We could put it on radishes theoretically.
No,
Okay,
no, for your
the word for
salad.
the week is radish.
Side salad.
All right, let's get into it now because I don't want to give an example of what our topic is. So our topic again
Okay.
today is back off. And we're defining back off as the avoidance of action or confrontation. This is a subject that everyone has to deal with, often on a daily basis. There are things which we find that we cannot confront or cannot confront easily. And inevitably, what happens if we're not confronted, if we have too much back off, is we just stop and we leave. We'll start things and then we'll stop them. It just takes so much for us to overcome that initial back off, that initial hesitation, and we don't want to engage in that fight. And then we will just stop even things that we know are productive for us. So my first question to you guys is, can you give us an example of back off? It could be in your personal life, or it could be something you've observed from others. Jen.
Oh God. So I don't have a lot of back off.
Okay.
As a kid, I was the kid who had, talks too much on her report card. I got in trouble for confronting a bully on the playground because I mouthed off at him, and I was the one who got in trouble. So you would think that for the number of times that I've gotten in trouble for voicing my opinion that I would stop, but I don't. Trisha's laughing because I told Trisha I'm going to give her a hook and like to hook me when I say things. But it's just, I think you either have it or you don't have it.
Okay. Does an example come up for you or no?
Well, I just gave you one on the playground where I stood up to someone.
Wait. You stood up. So where's the back off?
There wasn't any. That's my point.
No. But this was,
you
you're not
want
understanding
back
the
off.
exercise.
You
Yeah.
want back off.
Yeah. But let me say something before you go, though, because I want to.
Am I going?
I want to suggest that different people have different back offs in different areas.
Yeah.
So an example that comes to mind for me is this. Many years ago, when I was in my 20s, I was working in a building in Manhattan as a doorman. And I remember there was a guy, and he was a CEO, a very, very wealthy guy. It was an upscale building. And he was in life, he was very aggressive. He was very successful. And then I saw his interactions with his children.
Mm.
And his children had him by the throat.
Money.
Yeah. He had complete back off when it came to his children. So I'm going to suggest that everyone, to some degree, has some area of back off in their lives, even the
Yeah.
most aggressive.
So for me, it was a 14-year relationship that no matter what I said or did, I was shut down, argued with, blamed for the other person's nonsense to the point where I just shut up until I
Got
didn't
it.
shut up. And then I
Right.
got my back off
Your
away.
lack of back off.
My lack of back off, and it was like an explosion. So what I would say is, it's always better to speak your mind than silence your communication. I actually just sent Frank a reference that I read about back off and social niceties. It was interesting that I didn't know we were doing this topic, and I read something last night and sent it to him about how and I think this is, and I'm not being sexist, but I think as women, we're taught to be very polite and to adhere to social niceties. And I think that gets us in a lot of trouble sometimes because
Got
we
it.
allow for things that shouldn't be allowed.
Right,
Like,
right.
my back off is in pointing out when somebody lies. Because I get embarrassed and I don't want to make them embarrassed if I've
Okay.
caught them in a lie. So that's where my back off is.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving us that example. I mean, that's
You're
not necessarily an easy one to confess to the internet and the world at large, but who else
Where's my
has
hook,
an example of back off?
Trisha?
Trisha.
So I normally kind of just I don't really like confrontation. So right now, without getting too much detail, just in case somebody out there sees this on
Sure.
Facebook, I'm dealing with it right now. So
Oh.
I'm trying to keep nice and not say anything, but which has made me kind of close up a little bit. But I feel like something is going to be said very shortly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it to anyone currently on this live?
No, but they could be watching. So
Oh,
I'll
okay,
just
got it.
keep it. Yeah.
Fair
So
enough. All right.
yeah.
So we'll
you close up a little bit, and I don't really like confrontation. But at some point, like, you have to say something, you have
Agreed.
to confront it,
we're going to get into the reasons why that might be. So thank you for that. All right. Who's next, Corinne?
Well, so for me, it's very similar to Trisha. Like, as much as I don't like confrontation, when I'm put in an uncomfortable situation, oftentimes I just tend to just say nothing at first, and then it makes myself so angry that I explode. So it's not necessarily the best quality I have, I mean, even for
Right.
myself, for example, and I tend to back off on my weight, and I tend to be more of an emotional eater, for my example. And my mom will be like, "Hey, you're not doing well. You're gaining weight. You're doing this. You're doing that." And it's always like, "Don't talk to me about that. Don't move away from that." And
so
just
there are
never
certain subjects also where you're sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. Yeah, that's something that, like we were saying before, everyone has an area or several where
Yeah.
they, might be backed off, whereas in other areas they're able to just take it on very easily and simply. Jacqueline, how about you?
I guess I have more than I thought.
When you start thinking about it, right?
I can kind of agree with all three of you because I feel the same way. Like, when someone lies, I take it personally. I get like, why do you feel like you can't be honest with me? Why can't I feel like I'm the same person you get here is the same person you get if you were in my friend circle, my family circle.
But wait, what's the back off when somebody lies? Do you not confront them on it?
My initial reaction, because unfortunately, I've had people lie to me
Mm-hmm.
too many times. It's a shock every time for some reason. And it's weird because when you're hurt or offended in that way, you should almost kind of get smarter and be like, well, you almost expect that person, that's just the way they are. Mike, I do confront it. I feel like I'm very straightforward, but it takes a little bit because
Okay.
I have to get over the hump of like, I'm personally insulted. Like, I feel like I'm an open book. Like, you can talk to me. There's no reason why you should feel to not be honest with me. Like, you're wasting your energy by not.
Got it.
Mhm.
It's hurtful. It's hurtful.
Understood.
So, so unfortunately, I'm there. I do take things. I do internalize, I think. And I don't think that's a very good quality because I tend to let things go or build up, and I'm like, okay. I take a step back and I assess the situation. I take it from where it's coming from, and I try to level with myself and just get past it because I look at it where sometimes you just can't change people. And I don't
Got
like
it.
that, I don't like that it changes the way I feel about myself. Like
Right.
why someone feels the need to feel that way about me. It's almost insulting. Again,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like I feel like I not everybody has to like me or love me, but this is absolutely who I am. So it's accepting of that. So you should be very honest and straightforward with me as well.
Understood. Understood. I want to get into a little bit of what you're saying and what a couple of other people have touched on, which is the subject of confrontation.
Mhm.
Because, I think Corinne put it well. This is the strategy that a lot of us have, is we really want to avoid confrontation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Totally.
And as a result, we wait and it builds up. And then when
It's
we
never a
get
good time.
steaming angry, then we confront in a way that could be extremely angry or violent or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to
Mhm.
suggest that there's a misunderstanding about what confrontation actually is.
Yeah.
So confrontation, we think in the New York area, is about fighting. It's about battle somehow.
No.
But what
Yeah.
is confrontation really, Jen?
It's being there comfortably, being able to handle any type of communication comfortably.
Mhm.
So,
Mm.
can I expand a little bit
Sure.
and address a couple things? So, Jackie, 100% understand what you're saying because there was a point where I used to take everything personal. I'd be like, I expect people to treat me the way I treat them. I was educated on the fact. I was educated on the fact. I have a couple of situations that came to mind about you.
Mhm.
Like, anyway, and I've seen Jackie when she gets to a point, she doesn't back off.
Mhm.
Um,
I love that.
yeah, I know. But the thing is, there's a way to say things comfortably. You have to know that the other person, it's not personal. It's their stuff, not your stuff.
Mhm.
And you have to understand that a certain personality type or certain personality types will always behave a certain way in certain situations.
Agreed.
So if you have that knowledge and once a person shows you who they are,
Mhm.
you know that under any circumstances, they will act that way. You don't get blindsided by their behavior.
Mm.
So
Well, on the other hand, there is another hand here, right?
Yeah.
Which is that Jackie said something, and I can relate to this. It almost seems sometimes unfair to
Yeah.
ask things of people
Mhm.
when, because that's who they are, and they've shown it over and over again. Right? So it's like you don't want to bring things up
No.
Mhm.
because
Right.
so what you end up doing is you end up keeping it to yourself and then and building up that kind of energy inside because you don't want to blame the person for what they can't help or they have no control
Right.
over. And it's
Yeah.
a very static kind of understanding about who people are.
Yeah,
What-
I mean, I definitely feel like the way you put it is perfect because when someone does show me that side of them, or obviously it's coming, that's their truth, that's them as a being. I put them into categories in my mind, So I now know how to, one, handle that individual, two, how I want to place them in my life. And then it's also, it's as a whole, how I'm going to let it affect me when things come up, because I try to turn it into a positive sense where I don't feel like I'm not afraid of confront, but when necessary. Not every situation requires a full-on breakdown of feeling and emotion and interaction and, let me try to fix and heal you, because not everybody's built for that.
Yeah.
So I think I also look at it like, if I'm in that situation and someone it's hurting me excessively, I have to remove myself from it, because that's them. And I really do try. I try very hard. I don't know if I'm great at it, but it's working for me for a while, for a very long time. And I try to inflict that on my family also. But I kind of put that invisible wall up, right? Where I don't let that affect my feeling or my emotion or whatever it is. But I do have my down days, right? Where something does really affect me. And I'm like, that really knocked me off my seat. Like I'm hurt by this. I need to take a minute, regroup my thoughts, and see how I'm going to handle it going forward. I definitely puts a brick up, I should say, like, building that wall. It definitely does. But I try to take myself out of the situation. I don't want that negative energy, because I always feel like anything you put out there, once it comes out of your mouth or in your mind, you're speaking it into existence. Some things just cannot be fixed on other ends for some people.
Some things can't be unsaid and taken back.
Yeah. So let me again, let me try to deal with this. And I'm kind of thinking now that, this is a large subject, and it's different when it comes to situations and when it comes to people.
Yes.
There are differences. And what we're focusing now on is back off when it comes to individuals. And the interesting thing about that is I feel like the back off, it's never about them per se. It's always about us. So the sense that a person is so intractable or so difficult to deal with, and therefore we don't want to, that ends up being about our own reluctance and our own unwillingness to bang our head against the wall, for example. Men are very much like this. Right. And you guys know this because you've dated men. How many men have ever broken up with a woman? It's very few, right? What do they end up doing?
Yeah, it's true.
Huh?
The ghost.
They ghost. They end up just not talking or grunting for 6 months until
no real closure,
the woman says this is not working, right? It's an area of back off that I think comes from not wanting to hurt other people or something like that. So dealing with human beings, it always has its challenges, right? All right, let's talk about this though. I'm going to suggest that there are 3 primary reasons for back offs, and I'm going to qualify it now with more situations. Whether it's starting a weight loss program or finding a job or what have you. Okay. The first one is misunderstanding. Experience shows that when a person doesn't understand something, they end up shying away from it. The second is prior transgressions. If a person has committed transgressions, sins, call it what you will, then it kind of sits there in the back of their consciousness, and they end up, not wanting to confront what they need to confront, right? And then the third is overwhelm. When people are overwhelmed, we hear the expression these days, there's not enough bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth. And I think all of us these days, our bandwidth is very limited in being overwhelmed. Life has changed that much.
Absolutely.
There's also a fourth bonus, but let us stop here and maybe comment on these. Jen, you had a thought. I always know when you have a thought, Jen. You're a very bad poker player.
Terrible.
Yes, you tend to make say and like make faces and things like that. So, what are your thoughts about what I just said?
Oh God.
A couple.
So I think it goes back again to just being comfortable, like being able to sit there and have a poker face, which I've not mastered yet. I've gotten better at it, but again, people will throw things at you, and it will be unexpected. And you kind of just have to.
You mean like dishes in the background? for example?
Maybe. If you're Italian, yes.
Where, what is she doing?
That's not me. I'm not making any
No,
noise.
I know. I'm assuming it's someone in your household.
No, there's nobody here.
Oh, where are the dishes coming from? The dish noises.
No, not
Brianna
me.
grabbed a cup out of the.
Okay, there we go.
I was gonna say, no dishes up here.
So it's funny because, you know, we look at ourselves as one way and then other people see us as other ways. And I was thinking about confront, like, I didn't know that about Corinne because she always says what's on her mind. So I'm surprised that she had that thought about things, like about not being able to articulate. And then, you know, there are some people that you can't deal with. So there are two tactics. It's either to handle them, like handle the situation and handle it in a good way, or to just move, like Jackie said, move away. Like, you know, there are family members, you know, that are just, every time you have a function, it's like, oh my God, they're going to create an issue.
Yep.
No, yep. So it's sometimes hard because they are family members, but the way to handle it is like you control who comes into your life. You control who comes into your house, right? So if you don't want somebody in your house, you don't have to have them in your house because this is your sanctuary, right? It's your space.
My safe space, my safe spot.
Your safe space, right? It's your close the door against the world and you go in and you want peace in your house. You know, we've also been conditioned to think that we have to interact with people because they're long-term friends, right? That's what I'm getting at, or family. I had a situation where I couldn't confront a particular family member for the longest time because every time I said something, or even showed up at an event, if she got mad at something, she would turn to me and attack me, and I'd be like, and it silenced my voice because my response was, whatever was going to come out of my mouth was not going to be nice because it was going to be okay, now you said all this, and it took me changing me to be able to comfortably sit there and have a conversation with her when she came and she apologized for all her bad behavior. And I said, you shut down. I didn't talk to her for years. I mean, she's 80 something years old now. And for like 5 years, she was not allowed in my house. I did not go to functions where she was. And then all of a sudden I became comfortable with it. And when she said blah, 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 my answer was, you know, you came at me and attacked me for things I didn't do because you were mad at somebody else and you turned to me and used me as the punching bag. And I'm not that, like, it won't happen again moving forward. And
Can we all agree?
comfortable
Can we all agree that the problem with dealing with people,
is us.
and one of the reasons why we have back off, is that people have emotions.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
when we have to confront a person, then we're going to inevitably have to confront the emotions that may come with them. And if
Absolutely.
those emotions are very negative, who wants to deal with anger? Who wants to deal with upset? Who wants to deal with people who are irrationally or excessively hurt by something that may not be that big a thing? So is that the primary reason that we tend to have back off from people, Trish?
I think so. I mean, that's part of my thing. I just don't want to deal with that part of it, you know?
Got it. What is it
I
about
don't
dealing? What is it about dealing with that? So you said that you have a situation now
Yep.
that where you might have to deal with a person's reaction.
Yes.
What is it about that wants, you know, that has you backing off?
I think it's going to be what their response back to me is, because, like, for instance, if they become emotional about it, I feel like that will maybe make what I have to say change. Like,
Okay.
so if I'm in a situation where, you know, somebody initially just starts to cry, let's say, maybe I'm not going to tell you how I feel because I don't want to see you upset either, you know, like
Right.
that's part of it too. So that might make me change how I approach the situation. Does that make sense?
Right. So you
know?
don't want to cause a bad response from
No,
somebody
and
else.
and I don't want that to be, you know, either because of what they got going on too, like inside, you know, and
Right. So let me ask you this though. So I get the one part, right? Nobody wants to make someone else feel bad. Nobody wants to
No.
elicit a negative reaction from others, right? We perceive that we're pretty powerful and we have the ability to wound others.
Right. And that's why I back off.
That's right. But there might be another part though, right? So if a person comes back at you and they're upset in some way,
Mhm.
do you feel that upset yourself within your own body or person?
Mhm.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll feel bad that I said something, and I feel bad that I made you cry, or, and then that turns around and then that's on me, and
Yeah.
then I'll,
Yeah.
You see,
And
there's
yeah,
a resonance.
That's not fair.
There's a resonance. This is what I'm trying to bring out. There's a resonance between human beings, and if someone is around us and they feel, very sad or very frustrated or very angry, then we feel that inside ourselves,
Right.
and we know that we don't want to feel that way.
Mhm.
So that's a big reason for backing off, isn't it, when it comes to
Yeah.
other people?
Yeah, because you're always worried about what their feelings are and what they're gonna like, their reactions. Like, for example, myself, right? People used to back off to me because I was very explosive. I never thought about things appropriately before I would say them. I would just say them. And now I feel like I'm still explosive, but I try very hard to think about a situation prior to reacting to the situation. And instead of maybe reacting to the situation immediately, I'll think about it for a day and then respond to the situation. Like, I'm trying to keep my emotions in check, where
Mm.
I think when you're in a back off situation, it's very hard to keep your emotions in the appropriate response.
I agree, but let me suggest something, and this just came to me. You have a responsibility to handle that situation earlier before it gets to the point where you explode. This is how some murders happen. And fortunately, I don't think that you have ever committed murder, nor would you ever, right? But when an individual doesn't take responsibility for their own emotions and then puts things off until they get into a rage,
Yeah.
then
Well,
right, that's how violence can occur.
Absolutely. And that's why I've taken the approach of, okay, step back for a second, think about the situation. And now I write it down. I write out my feelings. I write things out and I seriously consider the different options. And then I approach somebody.
I'd like
Because
to get
I
a hold
fi-
of this diary. Who else? Who?
Well, it's mine. You have to, I always say, I have a friend and I always say she's the queen of words, and you have to remember that how you say something and how you deliver your message is the most important thing.
Yeah. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to end off here. We're not done with this subject. It's too big a subject, and I think we have more. So I have a couple of things I want to say in ending, but is there anything else that anyone else really needs to express before we go?
I'm gonna wait because I think anything I have will drag it on.
Fair enough. And we'll never stop.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be getting dark, and we'll still be dealing
I'll
with
have more to say. Absolutely.
it. Okay. Anyone
So,
else?
yeah, I was going to
Okay.
say that, we've also been taught that emotions are negative and that we should control them. But what we're never told is that there are appropriate emotions for appropriate situations.
Mhm.
So, like, somebody comes at
Absolutely.
you, like, road rage on the street, you can kind of handle it both ways, but you can't. And in certain situations, you have to be able to not overthink it either. Like there are different degrees and different levels of responsiveness that are appropriate to the situation. So if somebody is running at you and you're thinking, do I stop them? Do I not stop them? Do I say something? That could cause really negative effects. So the thinking process is good to a point, but appropriate emotions for appropriate situations.
Right. It would be appropriate to be, if someone's running at you with a knife, it would be appropriate to be fearful and angry and take fearful and angry actions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Right. that's called the Black Panther response. So there are
Right.
like four ways to handle certain things,
Sure.
certain
Sure.
situations. So
Okay. Well, let me end off by suggesting this. There's always an ideal, isn't there? Like the ideal with handling people or situations is always to be able to face whatever comes at you.
right.
And I think a big problem is that we are at some level afraid of our own overwhelm and our own out of controlness, right? If we are concerned about other people's emotions, ultimately we're concerned about our emotions. Because why do we have to go there? Why can't we just let a person rant and rave if that's what they're going to do? You know, why do we have to be so worried about them being hurt? Generally, we're not killing people by our words.
Right.
And generally, if they get so upset and, you know, we fear that they're going to be laid up in bed for the next 6 months because of how much we've hurt them, we're not going to go to that same place. But there's a concern that we will.
I think
So-
it's taking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're not going to start a new subject, are you?
I'm not, but I think the words leave off as like also taking ownership. I mean, if you're involved in a situation, you also have to take ownership, one, of your feelings, the situation at hand, and the people that are involved. I mean, when something is wrong, a majority of arguments when for example, like Trisha's saying, her being in a predicament right now, more than likely the person on the other side, because nothing has happened yet, they're probably not fully aware that they're wrong in any way.
Yeah.
And then there's people like Trisha or like myself or like Corinne or like Jen or like you that turn around and, you know, they understand all sides of it. So whatever scenario is happening, they're kind of, okay, let's ride this out of it. Let's ride the wave a little bit, see where this is going. And sometimes it's not that you don't necessarily take ownership that you're wrong or something is going in the wrong direction, but the person who does not feel that they're responsible for anything also doesn't realize the damage they're causing either.
You just pulled the word right out of my head, responsibility.
Yeah, like responsibility and ownership, it comes in many, many ways. And I think that it's not always when if you're upset with someone because they're doing something and they're just going about their business, sometimes they don't even realize the impacts of what they're doing to you. Maybe unintentional. It could be maybe intentional. I don't know. You know, it could be. But they're just going about their business. They're worrying about, they're owning themselves. They're just doing their thing. They're not even realizing what they're putting on you. Pressures, anger, inflicting. They have some people really have no clue. They're completely oblivious until they take ownership and responsibility once it's addressed.
Right. Well, the problem with that is if you don't address it, they will never know that something's going on. And that responsibility lies on the person who's been upset to say something. And believe me, I did a lot of work on dropped responsibility and inability to say things. And what happened was I was actually creating situations where by not saying something to avoid hurting
Right.
someone's feelings,
You're letting it continue. Yeah.
continue. And that's on me. That's
Well, listen, it's on me to end at an appropriate time. And this is an area where I sometimes have back off because I don't want to hurt the feelings of my lovely and beautiful staff. Nonetheless,
click,
it's true. I'm a human being.
silence, hang up.
It's
don't
true.
care.
Yeah.
So the hanging up can be very effective,
hanging
but
up.
it's a type of back off. So yes, but where I was ending and what I was saying was that the ideal is for us to handle things in an effective and appropriate way when they come up.
Right.
When they come up, and that could avoid a lot of strife. And we don't have to go down that rabbit hole of, well, I'm going to injure this person so much and I don't want to do that. We don't have to believe that we're going to go to the same emotional place that they are because of whatever resonance happens between human beings. We can just be there, allow them to have their response, and allow ourselves to have our own response and follow our own wisdom. So that's an ideal. It takes a lot to do that, but we're always supposed to be shooting for the ideal.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and we're going to continue this conversation next week. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Have a great week.
Have a good
Bye.
week, guys. Bye.
Take care.